Hi everyone, Happy New Year and welcome to UCSI Consulting Group's Expert Series. Now as we move into the new decade, I'm on a personal journey to discover cutting-edge technologies that is going to shape the future. So I'm going to be speaking to various experts, people from different industries, and we are going to learn from them so that we can be future ready. Today, we are going to be talking about blockchain technologies. I have with me Mr. Simon Ulrich, CEO of Rigov Technologies. He is a practitioner and he's going to walk us through about what is blockchain and why is it important and do we really need blockchain and so on and so forth. So Simon, it's good to have you. Welcome.
It's my pleasure being here, Raj. Thank you for having me.
Let's start things off by the 101 question, right? Please explain as how would you explain to a 3-year-old what is blockchain, in layman terms, simplest way possible.
Okay, can relate to that. My daughter is just 3 years.
Okay.
So I would explain it to her. I would say, imagine you take your favorite coloring book,
Okay.
but you want to color it with all your friends together. You have over 20, 30 friends. So of course you would not be able to get them around your one single coloring book. Let's introduce the magic of blockchain to your coloring exercise and see how that could work in a blockchain world. So first of all, I will make a copy of your book for every friend, but they're all linked together. So as one of your friends is painting in his book, it shows up in your book, it shows up in the books of all your other friends simultaneously. This is the whole distribution of the distributed ledger technology, aka blockchain. Now the other thing, there's little Johnny who's a bit nasty. He never plays by the rules, right? He will color over the edges of the book. He will draw nasty faces that make the other kids scared. And you as a collective of 3-year-olds, you don't want his scary pictures in your book. So you made a rule, no scary faces. Now how you make sure that Johnny keeps to the rule? Because there's a consensus protocol. Either you decided, okay, there's a voting, there's a random selection of a single person checking everything that goes in and decides that this can be in my coloring book. This is how you make sure that everybody plays by the rules. So in a way, your whole coloring exercise is collaborative. Everybody can work on it on the same time. It's fully transparent. Everybody can see what is happening in the coloring book, what everybody else is adding. Plus, people have to adhere to the rules because the system is enforcing it.
Now that's very interesting example and analogy. I think that's very good. It helps us to understand that blockchain has some form of control that helps us to collaborate together.
Yes.
Right? Can you give us some practical examples of how this can be used in organizations in the business aspect of things? Because we know that whenever we mention blockchain, and I learned from you that blockchain is not just about Bitcoin, right? It's just one application of it. But it's so powerful, it can be used in any application where we want open transparency, we want some form of control, trackability and so on, right?
Yes.
Give us some examples of this.
So what you just said is very important. While cryptocurrency was one of the first use cases for distributed ledger technology, I mean, saying that Bitcoin or Ethereum equals blockchain is a bit like saying all paper is money. With paper, yes, I can print money, it's one of the use cases, but I can also write books, I can do journaling, I can do a lot of things with paper. And similar it is with blockchain. Now what blockchain has been built for is to be a way to store data that is transparent, distributed, secure, and it's immutable. Especially the immutable aspect of it is very important. Because to me, blockchain is a trust technology. It's about trust. It allows me to interact with people I would otherwise not interact with because I don't trust them. I don't know them. I don't know their values. I don't know their ethics. I don't know if they promise me they will execute a certain transaction, if they will actually do it. But with blockchain, we have a system where by virtue of it being distributed, by virtue of the rules being enforced by a consensus protocol, everybody has to behave. It's not a question if you have integrity. If you participate on the system, you have to follow the rules.
So maybe give us a simple example that is used today.
So we can go into the area of supply chain. Provenance becoming very important. Many of us have seen the movie Blood Diamond. We don't necessarily feel comfortable to put a blood diamond at the ring, right?
Yeah.
So there's a company out there called Everledger. What they do is they put the diamond, the stone, as it leaves the mine, it's registered on their blockchain. And then as it moves through the supply chain, the blockchain records get updated, right? So it might be mined in South Africa, then goes to India for polishing, then goes to Switzerland for fitting, then is shipped to Singapore, and from Singapore it's distributed into a shop here in Malaysia, where you will pick it up. And you're then able to follow the whole process of your stone and where it comes from, and can feel good about its origin, can make a decision if there's any company in the supply chain you feel like not working with, and then make a different buying decision.
So you're saying that this can't be manipulated, which means that the trackability of it, can it be intercepted or manipulated in any way?
I mean, this is a fair challenge, right? So can blockchain be manipulated? The short answer is theoretically yes. The second short answer is practically no, because you need to get enough nodes in the system to support your manipulation. Now, if you assume that the majority of actors, they want the system to behave with integrity, because then it's trustable, they will not support your fraudulent transaction. That's why sometimes we read when we follow the press, as of having a certain number of nodes, it's secure. Or after so many blocks, it is secure, because now changing it becomes a huge effort. That it's more expensive in a way. It's the economist's dilemma, right? So the manipulation has to be so expensive that it's not worth it anymore. So even if you have zero integrity, you will not do it because it's not profitable.
So I would take that as a no, right?
Yes.
I mean, because it's almost practically impossible to manipulate that. So let's say I'm talking to CEOs out there who are listening to this show. Is blockchain a must-have or a nice-to-have? Let's say if I'm a CEO of a retail company, I'm a CEO of a bank, I'm a CEO of a university. In this new decade, must all the leaders start thinking about this technology?
Okay. Let me turn that question around. Is having trust in business nice to have? Is having security nice to have? Is acting with transparency nice to have?
Those are all must-haves. Yeah? Right.
And blockchain is a technology that makes it easier for you to have all that. Can you find other ways? Potentially. Depends how much money and time you want to spend on it. With blockchain, computer scientists, they have given us a wonderful tool to establish these three core values. That's why I think it is important. Now, having that said, let's be fair. Blockchain is also still somewhere close to the top of its hype cycle. You wouldn't believe how many people that approach me with the question, how can I implement blockchain? Wait a moment, wrong question. What's your problem? What are you trying to do? Are you trying to create an immutable record? No, it will change all the time. Do you have multiple players interacting on this project? No, this is just for my finance department. Okay, wait a minute. So you're trying to implement a technology for something it wasn't intended for. Use a regular database, no problem. Right? So be mindful of that as well. Of course, consultants like myself are to a certain degree at fault for that. We like to use new technologies as well. But actually, more often than not, when I'm in consulting engagements, I tell my clients, your problem is not a blockchain problem. We're still happy to help you with something else, but blockchain is not a technology.
So what problem will be a blockchain problem? What are some industries that should really think about blockchain? Does every industry in supply chain need to think about this? Or are there any other industries that should really seriously think about this as they move into the future?
Okay, I think there are a lot of industries that can benefit from blockchain technology. The four, I believe, where the impact is potentially the biggest. First is financial services. This is very clear. Over 46% of the investment in distributed ledger technology comes from the financial sector. So they have already figured out that there's value in it for them. And the value there is a lot about eliminating third-party intermediaries and having bigger transaction speeds and so on and so forth. Second, supply chain. I think there's a wonderful case from Walmart. So if you don't know about it, just Google Walmart blockchain or Walmart hyperledger, then you should find it on the first page.
Okay.
And that was about provenance. They had that problem that was hard for them to find where the fresh produce in the Walmart is coming from.
So right? Tracking their supply.
So tracking, and there was this famous case of, how long does it take to track a mango? Now that they use blockchain, it's I think 7.2 seconds to track where the mango comes from and where it went through the whole complex supply chain. Before that was a matter of days and sometimes weeks to figure out where a certain piece of produce is coming from. For customers, that's an important information. For regulators and thereby also for litigators, it becomes very important. That's why I think supply chain is a key player in that space, and they will derive a lot of value. Another one close to my heart and very important is healthcare. We spoke about now that blockchain is to share information, to keep integrity of information. I mean, that's also important in healthcare. But what's even more important in healthcare is privacy. You can save lives if you have data. Research is all about patient data. The more patient data you have, the better it is for you to run simulations, research new drugs, research new diagnostic devices, or help people in emergency situations. I mean, if I lie bleeding on the floor, I want the emergency responder to have all my data, but I don't record it centrally in any place because I'm afraid what will happen with it. And I think blockchain technology can help us to alleviate some of the fears of sharing our medical information, because there are systems that can be used so that I can take it back. Right, I shared it, but I can revoke access, and I'm in control. Not you, the doctor, or you, the hospital, or you, the government. It can be me. Right? I can be in control, so I might be more willing to share my information, therefore potentially in the future saving my own life, or at least contributing to medical research and potentially helping other people. I think this is a really, really strong use case where we almost have a social obligation to make it happen. Last but not least, I said blockchain is about transparency, it's immutable, it's shared. Well, we want that about our public sector, right? So we want governments to be transparent. I mean, I have been here in Malaysia during the last general election, so besides not being a Malaysian, well, I could feel the vibe, right? So people on the streets, they were fighting for transparency, they were displeased with certain practices in the country, right? And I think transparency is the very first thing that you would want. We see a lot of other countries being successful in bringing blockchain technology into their public services, right? And therefore not only making them more transparent, I mean, efficiency is also a concern, of course. So how can I provide more service to my citizens without increasing the cost of those services?
Oh, interesting. And I think these are all amazing applications of blockchain, especially like the public sector. So just maybe two more questions. Is it expensive to implement this technology? If I'm a business owner, I always need to think about cost. Do I need to revamp my entire IT system or database? Can it be on top of it? Can it be an add-on? Share with us a little bit about the investment.
Okay, so then I give you the classical consultant's answer. Right? It depends
sure.
on your requirements.
Sure.
Right?
I'm just looking at the barrier to entry, right? I don't want it to be something where if I'm a business owner, I don't want to pay such a big, huge investment. But if it's an add-on, and something where it can build upon what I already have, then that's great.
Of course, you can integrate into an existing landscape. And if you want to get something done quick, there are a lot of open source frameworks out there at the moment, like Hyperledger. There are other enterprise services out there you can use, or you can just deploy something on a public blockchain as well.
Okay.
Now, when we come to scaling the whole solution, of course, then it becomes a different ballgame. Then you might need to invest more. When you want to establish a blockchain network across the supply chain or across other collaborators, you need their buy-in, and that's not necessarily a system expense, right? You need to have to invest into the buy-in, right? So that they come together with you. While having that said, think about, do you need blockchain, yes or no, for your problem statement? So from a pure hardware and IT resources perspective, a traditional database always requires less resources for the same problem. So you only use blockchain if you can benefit from immutability, if you can benefit from transparency, if you can benefit from having trust amongst parties that not necessarily would collaborate. Then you might want to make the additional investment. Otherwise, just stick with your existing database. So
in that sense, will blockchain shape the future?
I think it will be a big part of it. I mean, it's here already. So while I'm personally not a big proponent of cryptocurrencies, they're not going away. Right? I think that the genie is out of the bottle, so to speak. We see a lot of companies a lot of countries in the public sector leveraging blockchain. Yeah. I think everybody knows about Estonia, I guess. Yeah. So all their registries run on blockchain. 99% of their healthcare data has been digitized. They have digital IDs and everything over there. Yeah. Also in other developed countries as well as developing countries. Yeah. So there are solutions out there in Ghana, in Canada, in the US, Sweden, Norway, China, India, of course, with their huge e-voting effort. Yeah. So I think blockchain is out there, yeah, and it's changing the world. I think it's starting to remove intermediaries. It's starting to make governments more transparent, right? And give citizens more voice. And personally, I think this is a good thing. I think the benefit is so big that the people will make sure it stays, and the people will make sure it grows, because they will demand for transparency.
It's great we have such solutions like that. And on that note, is there a shortage of blockchain developers? I'm sure we need the programmers and developers and so on as we move along. Is there a shortage or is there an oversupply?
Okay, let me answer that with data. So if you go to PayScale and you look at the compensation of a software developer and a blockchain developer, there's a 20% difference. If you look at starting salaries, the difference is even more pronounced. Personal anecdote, so I'm hiring enterprise blockchain developers now for 9 months. Yeah, they're very, very hard to come by. Yeah, sad to say, yeah, but in Malaysia there's a real shortage of this kind of talent. Yeah. Even when you go onto international markets, yeah, there is quite fierce competition. That's why many students I'm advising and saying, hey, blockchain is not that super hard. If you're a smart engineer, you can learn it. It's very good for your market value. Yeah, pick up the skill set. At the moment, the market is still hot and it will remain hot for the foreseeable future.
Thanks very much, Simon, for being with us. Just for the viewers out there, what would be your main, at least 1 or 2 key takeaway from this, from your perspective?
Okay. Takeaway number 1, blockchain is not equal to Bitcoin. Okay. Cryptocurrency is one use case. Please think about blockchain as a database technology, as something where you can store and share information that is immutable, that is transparent, and that is secure. That would be my first takeaway. The second takeaway is, if you're a business leader, think about what the technology can do for you. That's why I keep mentioning the Walmart example. Even if you don't believe in blockchain, if you're a supplier of Walmart, they will not ask you if you're going to use their blockchain-based provenance system. They will tell you to use it, right? So be aware that the world is changing, the world is adopting blockchain. Be ready.
All right.
Be ready.
Thank you so much, Simon. And on that note, it's amazing to see how blockchain is really shaping the future. So for all of you out there, let's future-proof ourselves and let's be future ready.